The Abby hate going on online is wild and it's bad. This video will contain spoilers for Last of Us Part 2, the video game, and Last of Us Season 2, the TV show. So, as we all know, for people who have played the game when it came out or later on, or people who have watched the show, that in last week's episode and in part 2 of the game, Joel is killed. And he is killed by this new character we get introduced to in the second game, Abby. Now, from a story and character perspective, Abby killing Joel makes sense in the context of the themes of the story, and I'll go deeper into this in another video about the themes of The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. But for especially for Part 2, the theme was revenge and how you loving someone so deeply that you would go to the absolute ends of the earth and do the most horrendous thing known to humankind just because you love someone else, and how far people will actually go for love and if it actually is worth it, because revenge is a cycle that never ends. Now, putting all that aside, when the game came out back in 2019, people started hating on Abby so much for killing Joel. They started attacking the voice actor and the character and how the character looked, and it was just disgusting. And the same has repeated for this show, because in episode 2, Abby kills Joel and people started going after the character all over Twitter again, and people started going after the actress Kathleen Dever, which is completely unfounded. Now, I get that fans are so passionate about this story because it's so well written and the characters are so fleshed out. You feel like they're real people and they're people you can care about. But at the end of the day, I think people forget that this is a TV show and it was a game, and these characters, as real as they may seem, they are not real people. They're just actors doing their jobs. You wouldn't really get mad at a doctor for doing their job too well, would you? So why do you get mad at an actor for doing their job? They're just following a script. They're just playing out the story the writers and the directors put forth for the show and the game. And I think as a plot point, Joel dying in The Last of Us Part 2 and in the second season of the TV show is great. It's actually perfectly in line for the theme of the show and where the characters are going, the character arcs, and showing the whole cyclical nature of revenge. I think it's perfect for all of that. Like Abby killing Joel because Joel killed her father, but doing it in front of Ellie, she is doing the same thing to Ellie that Joel had done to her, is kill her father in front of her. Well, at least in the case of Abby, it wasn't in front of her, but you get the point. She's inflicting the same pain because of the revenge she wants to take, and it's just so messed up in a very beautiful way, and I think it really gives the story a boost. But toxicity that goes on around Abby just does not stop there. When the game came out back in 2019, a lot of people started complaining that a woman shouldn't be this buff or this large, because Abby is fairly muscular. Not fairly, she is really, really muscular in the game and very physically imposing. And people complained about that when the game came out. So I guess Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann were in the right not only go for an actress that is physically massive, but someone who embodies Abby. And I think that emotional part being matched up is way more important than the physical attributes of the character. So the same people, when Caitlin Dever was announced as Abby in the show, started complaining that Caitlin Dever isn't as massive as Abby in the video game, and she's not muscular. Is she gonna go work out, get muscles, become more like Abby in the game? And I just got this really confused feeling in my head. It's just, alright, so if Abby is muscular, you're gonna complain about that. But if the actress in the TV show isn't muscular, you're also gonna complain about that. And I just realized that it's people always finding something to complain about in the IP they love, which is this weird toxic thing I also see in Marvel and Star Wars. They have this quote-unquote professed love and care and admiration for these IPs, but they always find something to complain about when the IP does something. Even if it's great, even if it's bad, even if it's well written, even if it's badly written, people find things to hate about these shows. And I just find that that's just a really toxic culture that has spawned on in the last few years, and I just don't really like it. I think people should try to appreciate what the story is trying to tell in the case of The Last of Us, and I think people should really learn to separate the actor from the character they're playing, because I think it's fairly childish to go behind and bully an actress for playing a role or hating a character because she killed your favorite character in the game. I love Joel. I love Joel. And my wife, she didn't play the game, but she's been watching the second season of the show. And after last week, she's completely devastated that Joel is dead. Like, after we watched the episode, she was in denial for like an hour that Joel died. And yeah, and I get that. That's a beautiful thing about this story, that it can get you so invested in these characters that you feel mentally devastated. But I didn't see my wife for a second curse Abby, because in the show, rather than in the game, because of the structure, they didn't really show much of Abby before she killed Joel. But in the TV show, we got a lot more scenes with Abby, and a lot of scenes that we got later in the game were shown first in the TV show, so that audiences like my wife who didn't play the game would, understand where Abby is coming from. And it worked really well. She didn't hate Abby for 1 second. She completely understood where Abby came from, but she was still devastated that Joel died. And I think that's a very normal way to experience this story for the first time, rather than hating Abby, just mourn the loss of Joel. But people are just gonna jump on. People do just jump on Abby for no reason, and I think it's crazy. It should stop. So that's about it. This is kind of an unscripted ramble session that I really wanted to get out of my system, because it's been bugging me a lot since I found out about all the hate going on social media. And gamers literally review bombed the second episode of Last of Us on Rotten Tomatoes. I think on the first day it was like a 57% on the audience side or something, and it was like 98% on the critic side, because it's a brilliantly made episode. Don't get me wrong, this episode was fucking amazing, adding this section of the Jackson battle that wasn't in the game, and intercutting between that, it being the same horde that attacks Jackson, connects the both storylines really well. When you cut between these two, you never feel dissociated, and I think that worked really well. But just because Joel died, people went and review bombed the episode on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think that's really stupid as well. Like, it's great that people are really invested in this, but I think people should really measure and calm down a bit before they go on social media to hate on characters or actresses or actors who are just playing the part. So that's about it for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you did, subscribe for more content, and I promise I will be uploading fairly regularly from now on.